Hello there, welcome into this latest edition of the SID's Weekly Report. I'm Daniel Geigo, Sports Information Director here at Southern Arkansas, joined alongside Graduate Assistant Sports Information Director Jordan Bergeron. And Jordan, another week of Mulerider Athletics in the books. We came off of a previous week where we didn't have anything at home, everything was on the road, but definitely not the case this past week. A lot of home events, which was great to have our athletes back on campus and competing and be able to have our fans and be able to create that home atmosphere once again here at Southern Arkansas. The week started off though with volleyball. They had a full slate this week. Wound up playing 4 matches, all of them at home. Tell us a little bit about their week, starting with a tri-match this Tuesday.
Yeah, we had a tri-match, and of course it's a long day for us, but it makes it a lot easier whenever they win both games. They started with Arkansas Monticello, conference opponent, a game they really wanted to win, a confidence boost. So they won that game, and they spread the ball out really well in that game. They had 3 players with at least 11 kills. Monji had 12, and I think Lauterbach and McNee each were up there. And McNee and Rayum actually had double-doubles in that match, so it was good to see that. But maybe the most impressive stat from that match, the Muleriders as a team hit 266 against a team in the conference that before that match, they were the conference leaders in opponent hitting percentage at 112.
Yeah, watching that match, obviously being able to distribute the ball and getting multiple players with double-digit kills, that I think is indicative of the setter in Taylor Rayum. She did a very good job of not only finding the empty holes, but feeding those players that we've talked about. Like feed that one who's on a roll, that's hammering some kills. But a great job for the Lady Muleriders on offense to be able to get that going. That led into the second match against CBC.
Yeah, going back to that match, we talked to Grimm, and he emphasized going pin to pin with the sets, and that's what Taylor Rayum did in that match. Now, leading into Central Baptist, an NAIA team, a team that Arkansas Monticello defeated before, we took them in 3 sets. It was a pretty dominating win. I think it was 17, 14, 13, the scores that they had, and again, it was Monji. The week was Monji, but Monji ended up she tied her career high with 17 kills, and she swung a really high percentage in that match.
And that Tuesday, I think, was definitely, it was an important night for the Lady Muleriders for their season, to kind of maybe erase everything that happened up to that point and almost reset themselves. Starting off with that conference match, getting that win was huge to get them some momentum in their conference slate, and then being able to take on a team like CBC, to where more than likely you should win more times than not, but also to be able to kind of work on some things and to see some things be successful. I think for any team, it's good to have those things, to know that, hey, what you're working on in practice does work. This is how it can work, and be able to see it and visualize it in a game setting rather than just practice is really big for them, and that also helped propel them into the weekend of conference matches. A little bit of a tough task, asking any team to go back-to-back. Friday night they played a conference match against Southeastern Oklahoma, followed it up with another conference match Saturday afternoon against East Central. What happened over the weekend?
Yeah, against Southeastern, that first set they took it, and they looked dominant in that first set, and Southeastern made an adjustment. They started rolling a bunch of shots, and you could see the frustration growing on Grimm's face, but it seemed their roll shots were really working, and Southeastern ended up taking the second, third, and fourth set and giving the Lady Muleriders a 1-3 loss. But again, Monji's the story there. She had 18 kills. She broke her previous career high, and Rayum also recorded another double-double in that match.
Yeah, and we were talking about Monji, and this whole entire week it felt like, and these weren't, she was racking up the kills, and these weren't just like soft kills as you were talking about, the little roll shots. She was hammering the ball down. Did you see anything different out of Monji this week coming in, and how she performed offensively?
Well, a big key for Monji, she's had this lingering ankle injury, and we saw it at Harding. We saw her production down in those matches because of her ankle. It doesn't seem, her ankle doesn't seem to be bothering her now. I mean, she absolutely tore it up this week, and Rayum, I think, as the season goes on, Rayum will get more accustomed to her hitters, and you can see that with all the hitters. Lauterbach, McNee, they're becoming more consistent as hitters, and I think that has a lot to do with the setter, and a lot to do with the passes. The passes are a lot more consistent getting to Rayum.
And then going into Saturday against East Central was almost a flip-flop of roles from what happened Friday night, where as the Lady Muleriders took the first set on Friday, but wound up dropping the next 3, and then on East Central on Saturday, Lady Muleriders dropped the first set, were able to bounce back, taking the next 3 to come up with the win. What did you see out of that match against East Central?
Yeah, that match, it was the opposite. And Coach Grimm called the loss in the first set. I talked to him after the match. He called the first set a hangover from their loss to Southeastern. And in that match, McNee and freshman Ali O'Banian both had double-digit kills. But again, the key name this week was Amanda Monge. And she ended up with 21 kills in that match. And, you know, everywhere she went, she stayed on that right side a lot, on that outside position, and they just fed her. And, you know, it was just like in the other 2 games, it was powerful attacks that were just going down. And even if they got a block on it, the ball would go out of bounds for a kill. Everything seemed to be put together this week for Amanda Monge.
Yeah, and you know the results. You know, like the old saying goes, the proof is in the pudding. The Lady Mule Riders 3-1 on the week. You know, being able to watch all 4 of the matches, myself just 3 of them, but you being able to see them all, I think we both kind of noticed as the matches were going on that the Lady Mule Riders appear to be turning a corner. Some things are starting to go right for them. The matches or the sets, even if they don't win them, they're close. They're within a couple of points, and so really things seem to be starting to move in a positive direction for the Lady Mule Rider volleyball team, which is a very good thing to see. And this was an important week for them, and I think they rose to the challenge and did what they needed to do. Would have liked to have gone 4-0, but with the way they did, 3-1, very positive moving forward. Also, too, this past week, first action for our women's golf team, and they had a very impressive showing. They finished 3rd out of 6 teams in the Freed Hardeman Fall Invitational. But from an individual standpoint, 3 golfers finished within the top 10, with Hele Lead, a newcomer to the program, finishing 4th, Hillary Pauley and Gabriella Clements finishing 6th and 7th respectively. And so for the first tournament in golf, again, we talked about it with the men a couple of weeks ago, you might go to a course you've never played at before, you know, and you might get the maybe the practice round the day prior just to kind of familiarize with yourself with the course, but ultimately you may be at the mercy of a course, and each course, you know, obviously is different. But I think for the Lady Mule Riders to be able to bunch up and have 3 players in the top 10 is a good sign moving forward, particularly in their first event, because golf, even though you look at it as an individual sport most of the time, at least in the professional ranks, in the collegiate game, it is more or less a team sport as well, even though individuals also are a big part of it. And so really it's important to bunch your individual performances together, hopefully near the top. That way your team score is low enough to get good scores and to move yourself up the leaderboard as far as a team. And out of that tournament, though, only one Division II school in that was Christian Brothers. The rest of them NAIA opponents, but again, that's not to say that those aren't quality NAIA programs. So, you know, a really good opportunity for the Lady Mule Riders to get out and travel. This one was held in Covington, Tennessee. Not sure how long of a trip that is, but you know, anytime you got to leave the state, a little bit of a tough task. But they did admirably well in their first event, so hopefully that'll be a springboard for the rest of their fall season, and they can carry that over ultimately into their championship season this spring. And then really the last thing we had as far as competition this week was football. It kind of made it for a little bit of a hectic day on Saturday. Both football and volleyball started at the same time. 2 p.m. kickoff for football, 2 p.m. first serve for volleyball. You know, obviously thanks to you, we were able to help get everything covered all at once as far as stats are concerned. But over at football, at the end, 62-21 blowout win over Northwestern Oklahoma. Not really any surprises in that result. I do feel that Northwestern is an improved team from what they have been in the past, but still a team that's making the transition from NAIA to Division II, and so there's going to be some growing pains there. But you know, the start of that game, it felt like it was going to be a wild shootout that I didn't anticipate. Mule Riders scored 28 points in the first quarter, but Northwestern scored 13 in the first quarter, and so there was just all kinds of points being scored in that game. And you know, thankfully the Mule Riders were able to pull away, particularly in that second half, to where it really wasn't a concern. But early on, it was it had the feelings of, are we going to have to get into a shootout with this team? And you know, the longer you let a team that you feel you might be superior to, the longer you let them hang around, the more they start to believe in themselves. And so thankfully the Mule Riders were able to kind of extinguish any of those hopes, particularly in that second half. And you know, really a big part of that was the defensive effort, looking through -1 yards of total offense allowed. Yeah, let that sink in. -1 total yards allowed in that second half combined. They shut them out 21 plays for Northwestern. So very good performance by the Mulerider defense in that game.
Now on the other side, well, let's talk about SID Blackshire a little bit. It was noted this morning that he was announced Player of the Week offensively, and for good reason. Can you tell us a little bit about SID's night and how was he able to be so efficient?
Yeah, SID Blackshire just named Great American Conference Offensive Player of the Week, well deserved. He set a new SAU single game record with 6 touchdown passes in that game. He threw for a career high 377 yards. He was 21 of 27 passing, and really very easily could have been perfect on the afternoon. A couple of drop passes, one attempt in the end zone to try to score at the end of the half wound up being intercepted. So a couple of things caused some incompletions for him, but overall it was, like you said, a very efficient afternoon for him. And it wasn't necessarily like the Muleriders were dropping bombs, 60, 70-yard bombs down the field. A lot of them were short intermediate routes, and the Mulerider receivers were able to make guys miss and take things to the house. And
now, which receivers in particular had big nights?
A couple of big nights. Zacharias Ware was one that jumped off on the stat sheet. He wound up with 7 catches for 170 yards, I believe, and 2 touchdowns. His 2 touchdowns, though, were really impressive on his part. Again, it's not like SID was hitting them for 40 yards deep down the field. Zacharias came by on a fly sweep, and it was really a shovel pass to him. And so Z Ware starts off in the backfield, makes guys miss, and scores a touchdown. The first one he did it on went 79 yards. So Zacharias Ware, a very good job on that. Another one that jumped out was Sidney Moore, true freshman for Southern Arkansas. He had 2 catches. Both of them were touchdowns. One of them a 46-yard touchdown in the third quarter. That's the one that set the record for Blackshire. Because he had 5 touchdown passes in the first half, so he tied the record, a single-game record for Southern Arkansas in the first half alone. It was overall a very impressive offensive performance. The Muleriders were also able to run the ball rather efficiently. Deion Williams, redshirt freshman, got his first start here at Southern Arkansas. He did well. I think 5 or 6 different running backs by the end of the game carried the ball, not including Blackshire a couple of times. And so overall, it was a great game for the Muleriders because, as we were talking about with volleyball, to be able to see things work in a game type setting is really great for a team because it can build confidence for them. To be able to work on some stuff, get guys in, that helps with depth towards the end of the year, because I think the last drive for Southern Arkansas, they were able to get in some 13 guys, some experience out there. And so even though they might not necessarily be called upon later on this year, with them being in the program, hopefully for a couple more years to come, that experience will bear fruit later on. And a defensive standout too, also want to mention Nolan Duncan on the interior of the Muleriders line. He had 7 tackles, 3.5 of them though were for lost yardage, and even though he ended up with a 3.5, he was in the backfield a lot more than that, had a quarterback hurry, and really was very disruptive for the Muleriders along the defensive line. It was one of the big reasons why they held Northwestern to -1 yards of total offense in that second half. So all in all, a great team win for Southern Arkansas. Build momentum towards the week ahead, and for all of our teams, we talk about the week ahead, building upon stuff, and that's no different for the volleyball team coming up. They got another big week ahead.
Yeah, let's go back and recap the volleyball week real quick. Amanda Monge, 68 kills in 4 matches, 4.53 kills per set, which is unbelievable. And then on top of that, to complement, 423 attacking percentage, which means 42% of her attacks went for kills, which in volleyball is extremely, extremely impressive. She also had a team high 7 service aces in the last 4 matches with that powerful jump serve that she uses so often. Consistency on the outside, like I said, from Lauterbach and McNee. Their kills are improving, their attacking percentage is improving, and as a whole, the Lady Muleriders hit over 200 in each of their 4 matches last week, which is a huge improvement in attacking, which from what we saw in the beginning of the season. I think that has a lot to do, again, getting used to the setter, passes being better, and so on. And Taylor Rayum, she had three double-doubles in 4 matches this week now. The defense tweaked a little bit, and now she has more opportunities to get digs, but she still has to dig them. She had 3 double-doubles in 4 games this week, and they're also letting her serve more, and she served 98%, just 1 error in 63 attempts. Coach Grimm has to love that, and in my mind, if you need a reliable server, Rayum needs to be out there. As for this weekend, another road trip. They go to Southwestern Oklahoma Friday, And, in this conference, we've seen a lot of parity. These teams beat teams. Well, Southwestern, for example, beat East Central in 5, which we beat in 4. But they also went to Southeastern, a team we lost to, and beat them in 5. So it's just a matter of who do you get on what night and what team will you see on that particular night. So we go to Southwestern Friday night, 6 p.m. start, and then Saturday we turn around, we go to Northwestern at 2 p.m., and Northwestern has done pretty much everything as expected thus far. They lost to Arkansas Tech, and they beat some lower tier team in the conference. So I'm looking forward to getting on the road with this team again this weekend and seeing how they build on last week's improvement.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy road trip. This is definitely the longest stretch for the Lady Mulerider in terms of conference play. They'll be out for having to go to Southwestern for Friday, then play Northwestern on Saturday and coming back home. Probably all told, it'd be 4 days probably worth of just being on the road and playing 2 of those. And so that part of it is not going to be easy. But Lady Muleriders, with the challenging schedule they had early on this year, they've also been on the road a lot. I mean, you take a San Antonio trip, which is nearly the equivalent to going to a Southwestern or a Northwestern. So they've done it before. They've been in the bus that long. They know what that's like, so that shouldn't be a little bit of a shock. So hopefully that prior experience will help them out as they go on the road.
They also went to Florida, and then they also went to Commerce, Texas. So they're used to being on a bus by now.
Yeah, so hopefully that stuff will be beneficial for them as they go and try to pick up a couple of big conference wins this weekend on the road. So that'll be very, very important. Shifting over towards golf, today and later on tomorrow, the Mulerider golf team and Lady Mulerider golf team, they're hosting their own tournament in El Dorado at a very, very nice golf course. It's a relatively new golf course, Mystic Creek. So it'll be good to kind of get our name out there as a golf program, bringing in a couple of teams hopefully throughout the region to be able to play and have a championship type golf course atmosphere out there. So looking forward to getting out there and seeing how the teams do with that. Both, again, the men and women are competing in that. And then this upcoming week for football, another big week. They've got going on the road at Harding. Harding's a team just recently elevated to number 15 in the coaches poll in Division II. They're 3-0. At total in those 3 games, they've given up 13 points, and they're averaging a little over 40 points per game. So offensively, they're there. They run the triple option, which is very difficult to defend just because not very many teams do it. Harding does it. They excel at it. One of the reasons why they've been 9-2 the past 2 years, and another reason why they're 3-0 to start off the year. So a difficult challenge for the Muleriders coming up defensively, but in talking with Coach Keppel, particularly last year about the matchup, he's one of those old school type coaches to where he was a part of coaching when the triple option was more common. And so he is confident in knowing how to stop that type of an offense, whereas maybe a younger coach doesn't have that experience. Coach Keppel does have that experience, and it's been some close games with Harding, going back 2 years ago to the Boomtown Classic, and last year on national television. The Muleriders have been close. Hopefully they can get over the hump, but not an easy task going to Harding. 6 o'clock kickoff for them, so should be hopefully a very good game for Southern Arkansas. We also got cross country too, another big road event for that.
Yeah, cross country goes to the Chili Pepper in Fayetteville. Always a huge race this time of year. University of Arkansas puts it on. Of course, it's a world-class event, and University of Arkansas will be running, so it'll be tough to get a team title out of that race. But notably, Division II and the GAC, it'll be a great opportunity for the cross country team and Coach Service to see Arkansas Tech and Harding running that race as well. And in Division II alone, they have 4 ranked teams. West Texas A&M, Missouri Southern, and Sioux Falls are all ranked in Division II on the men's side, and Missouri Southern and West Texas A&M are ranked on the women's side. So it'll be a good test for these runners. I think Coach Service really just wants to see continued improvement from his runners.
Yeah, and it'll be a good barometer of where his teams are at, both on the men's and women's, and where they're at now, where they need to be, particularly for whenever the conference meet comes up. And there's actually, we can talk about some news too with cross country, a little bit of change to where the conference championship is going to be held. There was some news that came out late last week. It was supposed to be held at Northwestern Oklahoma in Enid, Oklahoma, but due to some issues in Enid, basically they have switched the championship site to East Central, still an Oklahoma school. East Central was the host 2 years ago in 2012. So that'll be a little bit of a difference there, but a change of venue, and that might be beneficial for both the men's and women's teams because they've been to East Central in the championship setting, so most of them should be familiar with the course, particularly some runners like Carly Langley for the women and stuff like that. But a transfer like Mason Powers on the men's team, not much experience with that, but still a change of venue there. So we'll see how that kind of turns out. But that was a little bit of news that came out last week for cross country. And so again, another full slate of Mulerider Athletics on tap this week. A couple of them at home, the majority of them on this weekend on the road. And so be sure to check MuleriderAthletics.com. We'll have all of your live links and your previews in preparation for the week ahead. And Jordan, we appreciate it once more.
Thank you, Dan.